'cause I see the born of no return. It's just ahead now, it's just ahead now. Can't you see we're rushing for the end? I see the point of no return. Now see the point of no return. It's just ahead.
Well, good evening. It is once again Monday, but this time, strangely enough, it's February 17th, 2014. Isn't that interesting how every Monday the date is 7 days further along? I am Gary Hendershot, and for the next hour or so, I'm going to be barking at the moon. You're currently listening to Wide Awake News on the Rents Radio Network, and we got quite the pile of nonsense to wade through tonight. Yeah, I suppose everybody out there's probably heard that there's been a little issue with bankers biting the dust. One guy 7, 8 times, 3 times in the back of the head with a nail gun. All classified as suicides, obviously. I mean, these fellows were just depressed, They're at the height of their career. They're making money hand over fist. But, for whatever reason, they decide it's appropriate to end their lives. Interesting. Kind of reminds me of a joke I remember hearing back when I was a kid. So this joke's been flying around there for a long time. Chances are you've heard it before, but story goes, what do you call 10,000 attorneys at the bottom of the ocean? Well, of course, the punchline is a good start. And, there's another joke that kind of parallels that one, and it's, why do sharks not eat attorneys? Well, of course, the punchline is professional courtesy. Kind of works the same way with bankers and politicians and judges. You've got this political organization, this oversight, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and half a dozen others that are supposed to be keeping an eye on what the bankers are doing, keeping them honest, making sure that they're operated as a public convenience. They're supposed to be operating on our behalf. They're supposed to be for the good of commerce and to make sure that products move and that, the economy has enough money out there so that commerce can survive. Why is it that the Justice Department and none of these oversight outfits seem to want to wrestle with any of the bankers? Well, it's kind of like the sharks and the attorneys. It's a professional courtesy, because many of these fellows who are right now on a government paycheck working for Uncle Sam, and by extension, supposedly working for you are the one who are taxed to death to pay their salaries and their luxurious benefits packages. So, you're the paymaster, so you would think these fellows were working for you. But in reality, if you get out of college and you work 5-10 years for one of these regulatory agencies that regulates the banking and investment industries, you're just building yourself a resume so that one of these days you can get a real job working for J.P. Morgan or Goldman Sachs. Now, these bankers that have met their demise all seem to have one thing in common. They all seem to be under investigation. Now, frankly, for a banker to be under investigation, they must have really pissed off somebody up the top. Because as we have found out, bankers these days are just too big to jail. There is an interesting article over at King World News. A fellow named William K. K-A-Y-E is interviewed. This guy's 25 years working for Goldman Sachs. And he came right out and said it. He says, the interviewer asks, Bill, we've got bankers dropping like flies. What's happening here? Now, frankly, 5 bankers, I think it's up to 5 now. I'm sorry, that's not even a good start. I mean, there were at least 10,000 of those attorneys at the bottom of the ocean. So come on, 5? There's got to be at least 5,000, before I would consider that dropping like flies or, have any parallel to that joke from my childhood. But that's okay. Bankers dropping like flies. What is happening here? And this guy, K, comes back and says, they are? And the question is, are they being pushed to their deaths? Or do they have some delusion that there is a swimming pool below? It's very tragic, but it also ties into our earlier discussions about how the bullion banks have conspired to manipulate gold and silver. Interesting. So this guy draws a parallel between the bankers who have recently met their demise, obviously of suicides. Have you ever held a nail gun? Do you know how hard it would be to get a nail gun back into your medulla oblongata and pull it off a couple, 2 or 3 times? I mean, the first one's going to hurt. And then apparently pop a few into your torso just for good measure. Man, I can think of much easier ways to, if I really wanted to end my life, I can think of, what can I say? There will be a link to this article in the show notes for this particular broadcast. I do post show notes for all my broadcasts at smartscarecrow.com. You just find the blog entry for February 17th, 2014. It's a short article. It's not very long. It's a quick and easy read. And it might just be interesting to some of you to find out what a 25-year insider from Goldman Sachs has to say about the recent spat of disillusioned bankers who have ended their lives in some of the most bizarre ways you can possibly imagine. But anyway, moving right along. You about finished with winter? You about had enough snow? You running out of Epsom salts from, all those hot baths and Epsom salts that have been required by the snow shoveling? Well, those of you in the Northeast best just brace for another round, because it appears there's supposed to be another little nasty. Going to start up sometime tomorrow afternoon or early evening. Some areas like Boston, in the Boston area, it's already been hard hit. I mean, I've heard of snow drifts up in the Boston corridor that are, 4, 5, 6 feet deep. One of the fellows in the chat room, I think, lives up in Connecticut, near Boston, and he's telling me that the snow that he has shoveled from his driveway is now a 6-foot mountain on both sides. But, looks like we're not done with winter yet. So brace yourselves, Northeasterners. There's another round coming through. You up in Boston, you got about 6 inches to look forward to. A little further south, 3 to 6 inches. In my area, down in Washington, D.C., neck of the woods, we're looking for 1 to 3 inches. And, what are you going to do? It's winter, deal with it. You got spoiled. We had some mild winters there for a few years, and now we're back to normalcy. So get with the program, buy a new snow shovel, all of a sudden that gasoline-powered snowblower start to look very attractive to me. We'll just have to see how that goes. Northern Virginia, I never would have thought, in my area I'd be thinking about a gasoline-powered snowblower, but all of a sudden, starting to look real interesting, well, moving right along. Oh, for this next article, I'm going to need my prop. For those of you listening on Rinse Radio and can't see my sight gag, I have just donned a helmet, which appears to be a little too small for my fat head. But this is an interesting article. And we get these articles every once in a while, and I don't want anybody to run out and buy a pair of black Nikes and start mixing that fancy Kool-Aid. But yeah, there is another asteroid gonna swing by. Let's see here, a potentially hazardous asteroid. EM26 is its name. That's the name that scientists gave it. This sucker is about 885 feet long, so it's close to 1,000 feet long. This is a big bad boy, and of course it's all the news. This thing is screeching along at about 27,000 miles an hour, and it will make its closest path by the Earth tonight. Hence the helmet. Don't panic. This thing's going to be like 5 times the distance of the moon from us. The moon's out there at about 250,000 miles or thereabouts. This guy's about 5 times further than that, so it's about 1.25 million miles. But amateur astronomers with good telescope might just be able to see this bad boy. It's big enough and it'll be close enough that if you got a good enough scope, you might actually be able to see it. Probably wouldn't be able to see it too long, because as fast as it's moving, it'll probably move out of your view very quickly. But this happens every once in a while. We do live in a solar system that's sometimes looking a little bit like a billiards table. Anyway, I think I can put away the helmet until the next near miss. And yeah, that was your first gag for the evening. Hey, the news is messy enough. Every once in a while you need something to give you a little bit of a laugh. And of course, we've had ongoing stories recently about Edward Snowden, the contractor who was under contract to the NSA, managed to walk away with some interesting documents. Well, this week in the news is his attorney. This is from the Washington Times. An attorney for Edward Snowden says she was questioned by officials at London's Heathrow Airport over her relationship to the whistleblower Snowden. The Government Accountability Project, a whistleblower advocacy group, claimed Monday that one of their attorneys representing Mr. Snowden, Jesselyn Raddick, not Jocelyn, Jesselyn Raddick, was interrogated and harassed by a British border enforcement agent as she tried to enter the UK, and that from the questions asked, the official was concerned over her connection to the former NSA worker. Now, this happened in the UK, and I'm not sure what their laws are in the UK. I of course, live in the United States. But, here in the United States, we got this thing called attorney-client privilege. And we've also got this long history of ensuring that even the most guilty of parties is entitled to legal representation. So, I'm not sure why the laws in the United Kingdom are different than those in the United States, because frankly, I thought most of the laws in the United States were kind of inherited from the British system. And I would have thought that an accused party would have the same kind of rights under the law in Great Britain that they have in the United States. But like I say, I'm not really sure. So on that one, you're just going to have to consider and make up your own damn mind. But it is somewhat chilling that because this woman represents Edward Snowden, she is now a target and is subject to all sorts of harassment. Edward Snowden. Sometimes it's hard to really figure that guy out. I'm still kind of on the fence. I listen to both sides of the argument. I hear this one group out there saying, this guy's a whistleblower. He should be given a medal. He should get the Nobel Prize. I hear this other group out there saying, no, he's some kind of CIA, NSA plant. It's all, false information. It's just another psyop they're running on us. Tell you the truth, I don't know. I don't pretend to know. I keep coming back to the argument that whether this guy is a plant or not, the material that he's gotten out there has opened what I consider to be a very healthy debate on whether or not the government should be spying on you, regardless of the circumstances. We do have a certain expectation of privacy here in the United States. It's tradition. It's a very long-standing tradition. We tend to mind our own business, and we expect others to do the same. Now, if they really, really, really suspect you of being dirty, they ought to do the right thing. They ought to go before a judge. They ought to state their case. And in a proper judicial system, the judge would consider your evidence and say, yeah, I'm going to give you a warrant to tap this guy's phone, to read his emails, to break into his house at 2:00 in the morning and search it. You've made a good enough case that there is reasonable suspicion. We're going to grant you a warrant. But today, our dependence on electronic media, so much of our lives is posted up on Facebook. It's you do everything on a silly cell phone that broadcasts your business to the entire world, to anybody who might have the ability to receive. They don't have to go down to the phone company and find a certain pair of wires and tap into them anymore. No, they can just park a van within a couple miles of where you're going to be and hear everything you see, everything you hear. They can turn on your camera on your phone. I mean, it's amazing what they can do. Now, just because they can, the question remains, should they? Is it legal under the American system? That's the debate that Edward Snowden has opened, and I think it's a healthy debate. So whether this guy is a CIA, NSA plant who's just out there to, stir the pot, or whether he's a real honest-to-God whistleblower who's brought forward all this nasty dirt that he accumulated during his brief span with as a contractor for the NSA, I don't know, and really, I don't care. I don't like the idea that his attorney's getting hassled, because whether he's guilty of a crime or not, he's entitled to legal representation. So that, my friends, is a significant issue. Somebody ought to get their ass kicked for messing with that man's attorney. He's got a right to legal representation, regardless of what he's accused of. That is stepping over the line when they mess with the guy's legal counsel. Where do you draw the line? At what point would you consider the abuses of power so significant that you'd open your window, yell at the top of your lungs, "I'm mad as hell. and I ain't gonna take it anymore. Yeah, that from a antique movie called Network. Some out there who are my contemporaries probably remember that movie. Might be time to go down to your favorite video rental place. Check that one out. And as always, consider and make up your own damn mind. If you're expecting me to spoon feed it to you, you should probably tune into one of the other guys who bark at the moon, because I'm just here to try to make you think, consider, and make up your own damn mind. See, I should be hearing that bumper music just about any second here. I thought I timed that one just right. Oh, well, I guess we'll just press on. Do have another related issue. And, of course, now I start hearing the bumper music. My iPad must be off a little bit. Do have some more related news that we'll get into as soon as we get back from this brief commercial break. All righty, we're back from that first commercial opportunity of the evening. Before we left for the break, we were talking a little bit about Edward Snowden and the fact that one of his attorneys was apparently harassed at the airport in the United Kingdom and was questioned about her relationship with Snowden. That's like asking a priest what he discussed with the accused child molester, okay? You don't cross certain lines. And that's a line that apparently they chose to cross. What lines do you expect your employer not to cross? I mean, do you expect your employer to put recording devices on your office telephone? Some do. Do you expect your employer to read your office email? Some do. I mean, frankly, court cases have found that the office email where you work belongs to your employer. That's his telephone. That's his computer. That's his email system. Frankly, he can do it what he please, It's his to do with as he sees fit. You have no expectation of privacy in your communications at the office. Frankly, you ain't supposed to be talking about family issues and things like that at the office anyway. You're supposed to be doing the job that the man's paying you to do. Now, we were worried about NSA snooping and spying on us, but for a long time, the biggest spy on most Americans has been their employer. And frankly, according to an article by Hannah Kuchler, Kuchler, Hannah Kuchler, it's now becoming an industry. I'll read you a little bit of this article, give you something to chew on. There will be a link to the full article over at smartscarecrow.com. All you got to do is find the blog entry for February 17th, 2014, and you'll get links to all the background articles that I'm using in tonight's package here. In a back street in San Francisco's startup-dominated Soma district, Soma, wasn't that from Brave New World? That was the drug that kept everybody happy. Anyway, a rapidly growing business is busy studying how millions of employees behave each day. Its computers know in real time why a worker was hired, how productive they are, and can even follow them as they move to a new job. Evolve, E-V-O-L-V, E-V-O-L-V, is a leader in the nascent quantified workplace movement. That's a fancy word for they spying on you. Where big data analytics companies are springing up to measure how we work. Every week we figure out more things to track, says Max Simkoff, Evolve's co-founder and chief executive officer, who claims it can help improve productivity by at least 5% in 2/3 of jobs. Now, this is nothing new. This is nothing new. Before there were cell phones, before there were computers, before there were fax machines, there were guys out there that used to call back in the days when we rode dinosaurs to the office and we did our work with a hammer and chisel against a piece of stone. There were guys called efficiency experts. And the boss would hire this guy, and he was usually a pencil-necked geek in a suit that his mama bought. And he would stand there and he would watch us work, okay? And he would go back to the boss and he'd say, and the next thing you know, about 10, 15 workers on the assembly line were fired. A bunch of scab labor came in, and matter of fact, they used to use it as a technique for busting unions back in the day. Today, it's so much easier. Today, it's just so much easier. All they got to do is tap your phone, read your email. They can tell with certain spy software exactly how many keystrokes you've typed on your computer. So, if the boss really wants to find a reason to get rid of you, the data analytics provided by Evolve and other companies that specialize in the same thing can readily provide whatever ammunition might be required. So if you think that the big spy is Uncle Sugar, guess again. It gets right down close up and personal with many employers. I wonder how many of you out there were aware that this has been going on for as long as I can remember. It's a fact of life. Consider. Make up your own damn mind. Oh my goodness, I finished that article a minute and a quarter too soon. We're gonna have to get part way into our next one. I just put up a picture over my shoulder for those who are watching this on Justin TV or YouTube. A fellow by the name of George Soros, and any resemblance to cartoon characters and people from science fiction stories is purely accidental, I assure you. But this report's from Zero Hedge. Got to try and get this out there in about a minute here. A curious finding emerged in the latest 13F by Soros Fund Management, the family office investment vehicle managing the personal wealth of George Soros. Actually, two curious findings. The first was that the disclosed assets under management as of 31 December 2013 rose to a record $11.8 billion. This excludes netting and margins and a whole bunch of stuff here that I don't pretend to understand, and most of you out there wouldn't understand either. The second one is that the Soros put, a legendary hedge position that the 83-year-old has been rolling over every quarter since 2010, just rose to a record $1.3 billion, or the notional equivalent of some 7.09 million, a bunch of finance terms that nobody out there would really understand or appreciate. Bottom line is, Mr. Soros is apparently betting that the market is about to collapse. This, according to Zero Hedge. Once again, the link to this article is going to be on the blog for February 17th, 2014 at my website, smartscarecrow.com. If you're interested in reading what Zero Hedge has to say, there will be a link to his article about this over there. Finally, remember that what was disclosed on Friday is a snapshot of Soros's holdings as of 45 days ago. What he may or may not have done since then is largely unknown. It's a private fund. He can do with it what he wants. But he appears to be betting that the market is about to significantly tank. I'm hearing the bumper music in the background, so I've got to slip out of here for a little bit while they sell some merchandise to keep the lights burning at the network. Be back right after these important commercial opportunities. Oh, missed my cue. Busy trying to put out my stogie there as we were coming back live. You know, I'm a kind of a simple country boy. And when I go to watch a movie, or if I were to watch a TV show, I don't spend much time watching television. I think my 1982 27-inch Magnavox has about 2 inches of dust built up on it from lack of use. But, you know, if I do, I have very simple requirements. I just wish to be entertained. I wish to have a brief period of mind-numbing entertainment to help me forget my trials and tribulations of the day, and for a bit of relaxation. Right? I don't know about you. You know, I'm sure there are a lot of people that go out to see a movie or they'll watch a television show, hoping to better themselves or to find some deep meaning, or you know, they're the ones who watch what's commonly referred to as chick flicks. I mean, when I want some entertainment, I want car chases, I want explosions. You know, all right, so I'm a simple man. Well, there's a new movie about to be released about the life and times of a fellow who was supposedly the son of a carpenter. Some folks say he was really the son of God. As a matter of fact, he's such a important person in history that an entire religion that's followed by almost 2 billion people in the world is based loosely on his teachings. Well, the History Channel has decided to put together a mini-series on the life and times of the man who had become known as Christ, Yeshua ben Joseph. Now, if you were the History Channel and you were putting together a drama, and you wanted it to be entertaining, you wanted it to be riveting, you wanted there to be something in this production to satisfy all audiences, you'd need a good guy, you'd need a bad guy, you'd need some rock'em sock'em action. Considering the times, instead of, you know, car chases and explosions, there might be chariot races and fire and brimstone. But, you know, there's got to be an element of entertainment if you're going to capture an audience and keep them riveted to their TV set. So a little bit of controversy would probably be a good thing, right? Boy, if you could get out there and stir the pot and get people excited to come watch this thing, you know, you'd love it, right? How about this? This is this is out of Hollywood Reporter, and yeah, I guess, you know, you might be able to consider this something of a gag for the evening. We'll just have to see how you take it. But this is reported by HollywoodReporter.com. HollywoodReporter.com. Scenes with an actor who played the devil but looked a lot like President Barack Obama have been edited out of the upcoming movie Son of God, one of the producers told The Hollywood Reporter. It gives me great pleasure to tell you that the devil is on the cutting room floor. Oh, wait a minute now. How are you going to cut out the bad guy? Okay, you got to have a good guy, you got to have a bad guy. But, you know, you consider, okay, that the guy on the left, by the way, is the one who's playing the devil. And those of you who are watching this on Justin TV or watching it on YouTube, you know, I've got the picture up over my shoulder. The one on the left is the actor who's playing the devil, just in case you confused him. The one on the right is our president, Barack Hussein Obama. Now, do you see any similarity? You know, I mean, I'm sorry. I think it's a bunch of nonsense. But hey, it's controversy. It stirs things up. It'll get people talking about this film. I understand it's going to be a miniseries. I understand it's going to be broadcast on the History Channel. It's going to be done as a. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was last year's. This one is actually a movie done by 20th Century Fox. But hey, look at it this way. They've stirred up a big controversy about this movie. You know, they're going to have people lined up. You know, the same stories are told over and over and over and over. Sometimes we build religions out of them. Sometimes we build cult sci-fi followings out of them. It's interesting how, you know, the stories are told over and over and over again. By the way, I hope everybody noticed, I'm not going to say a word tonight about Obamacare, okay? You know, there was no real interesting, exciting Obamacare news to cover this week, so you get a week off the Obamacare. But we cannot possibly go a day without discussing what passes for a government here in the United States. You know, last week, you know, Mother Nature gave them a whack in the back of the head with a 2x4. You know, they were down for a couple days because of the snow, but they made up for it. 1,516 new pages and 56 additional final regulations were published in the Federal Register last week, according to the Free Market Competitive Enterprise Institute. Now, the Competitive Enterprise Institute is a very poorly funded organization who operates as an independent government watchdog. I'm not sure what axe they have to grind. I have no idea if these guys are flaming liberals or whacked out conservatives or whether they're trying to walk a path in between. But they do keep an eye on what passes for government in the United States. And one of the things they have brought out is that all of these additional final regulations are statutory rules designed to make it even more difficult and more expensive to operate a small business in the United States of America. Now, if you're a big business and you got lots of money to throw around Washington, D.C., chances are any of these new regulations, you could probably get a waiver, kind of like McDonald's got a waiver for Obamacare. Oh, that'd make a Big Mac cost an extra 50 cents. We can't do that. Oh, okay, we get a waiver. It's just going to cost you $100,000. Just donate to this PAC over here, We'll get you a waiver. No problem. Now, of course, if you're the little local guy who makes his burgers by hand, buys the burger fresh every day at the same grocery store you buy it, making burgers by hand, cooks them up right when you order them. They're always fresh. They're always tasty. They're always right off the grill. That guy, he's not big enough to throw money around D.C., so he's the one who has to be concerned with 56 additional regulations in just 1 week's time. That is what passes for government in the United States of America. We're only in the second month of 2014, and already the Federal Register has mushroomed by 9,079 pages. At this pace, the Register will accumulate 73,000 pages by 2015. Shockingly, this would be the lowest total in 5 years. So all of those out there who are saying, oh, government ain't doing nothing, government ain't doing... Yeah, they are. They're not doing as much as they usually do. They're not burdening you with additional nonsense as much as what would be considered normal. But I guarantee you, they're taking care of their friends and punishing their enemies. That's the state of government in the United States of America. One of the things we can always afford, regardless of how broke the United States is, one of the things we can always afford is new and exciting people to blow up brown people and steal their stuff. And man, have they got a new gadget now. This is right out of Star Wars. The Navy plans to deploy its first laser on a ship later this year, and it intends to test an electromagnetic railgun prototype aboard a vessel within 2 years. Yeah. Something right out of a sci-fi movie. I mean, they're talking about, right now, I think we're flying our 5th generation of fighter jets, and these things still shoot missiles and have machine guns in them. They're talking about a 6th generation of fighter jet, if it gets built. I mean, for all I know, Skynet will be in play by then, and, they won't need pilots, and, but the 6th generation of fighter jets is supposed to have some sort of particle beam laser in it instead of machine guns. So air-to-air combat will be at light speed now. It fundamentally changes the way we fight, says so-and-so for directed energy and electric weapons systems for the Naval Sea Systems Command is the ones who've contracted for this. The Navy's laser technology has evolved to the point that a prototype will be deployed aboard the USS Ponce this summer. So it's coming. Hey, my last little gag for the night. I got to throw this one out there. Jobs are available at the FFA for air traffic controllers. No experience needed. Apply now. If you need a gig, that's something for you to consider. That's it for me. I've run out of time. See you again next week. We'll do a little more barking at the moon. Good night, all.
Ooh, love of the turnarounds. None of us are leaving here alive. Whoa, what will you say? What will you say? And what will you do? Whoa, whoa, calling out to you. Won't you turn around? Oh, I'm calling out to you. Won't you turn around?